and that I still think that a lot of houses being built today don't speak of enough. For me, growing up in a house like this really made me familiar with the values of a kind of heroic age of modern architecture, and the ideas of speed, light, technology, all the most exciting things about living in the 20th century are sort of written into this building.
There are signs that some of the ideals of modern architecture are finding acceptance, even by the conservative British. Carol Coombs and John Brooke used to live in a Victorian terrace in Ealing. Now they've built a modern house at the bottom of their garden, and they live there instead.
The ironical thing is that we actually bought this piece of land that our house now stands on, mainly to prevent anybody else from building a horrid modern house.
And then you've ended up building a beautiful
but that
modern
was a whole story.
We just presume, because this is a conservation area, that we'd have to build what there is on the other side of the road, which would have been fine.
You never really imagined it would be possible?
No, no. And then suddenly the architect started to say, well, you know, I really don't think we're very constrained here. You can do more or less what you like. We'll give it a go.
So in many ways this house sort of breaks the rules, doesn't it, of the traditional house?
The first thing that breaks the rules, of course, is the glass roof here of the atrium. And that's because this is that's south. So from an architect's point of view, it's very logical to make that glass, to let in the sun. And indeed, if it was a sunny day, the sun would be going onto our dining room table.
Has it changed you as people living in this house?
Yes. Seeing the sky on all sides, it invites you to look out. And I think maybe I've always been, would you say, a fairly introvert person?
Yeah, I think so. Quite, yes, I think so.
And I think it helps to make you realise that the purpose of a house is not a little sort of box in which you contain yourself, but actually what's important about it is the life you lead from your house. And so it seems to me anyway, to focus my mind less on things, but more on what I actually do, what I actually feel.
What inspires me about Carol and John's house is that something as simple as opening the building out to light and space could have had such a large effect, not just on their views of the garden, but on their view of life.
So down the end here.
So this is where you spend most of your time living?
Yes.
A fantastic frame here.
Lovely view.
What does an appropriate house do for the people who live in it? How does it affect them?
I think it makes them able and enjoy change. That change is something that's exciting and not something a bit scary.
We're quite frightened of change in this country. I mean, we quite like that.
Yes.
We don't really like it. We're a bit frightened of this.
People said to us when we were doing it, oh my God, it was such a risk. And we'd never seen it as a risk, really. Well, I hadn't. I'd seen it as rather a great project, a great adventure. So I think I would say that it encourages you to do something different.
It's a cruel irony that just when we might feel ourselves most vulnerable to our surroundings, we often come into contact with some of the harshest and bleakest architecture.
The huge long corridors in hospitals, for me, are personally quite a scary experience.
You feel quite disorientated. You're not really sure where you are.
But even in this most utilitarian of spheres, hospital design, there are encouraging signs that the benefits of good modern architecture are beginning to be appreciated. Maggie's centres are a series of drop-in centres designed by some of the world's leading architects, which provide people diagnosed with cancer with a place for rest, support and reflection. This building, designed by the architect Frank Gehry, opened in 2003. It adjoins Dundee's main hospital.
The first time I came in here, I stopped and just, there was a calmness and a peace about this place that really helped me. And going upstairs to look out the window over the river, there was just a tranquility about the place that I felt helped me.
In this place you can wander inside and outside, and it's aesthetically pleasing. To me it's nice, it's relaxing, and if you do want to come to the place, I think it's helpful if you're coming to a place that's nice to be.
I always felt when I came in here that I just felt much calmer instantly, and I don't know if it was because it's light or if it was the view or if it was the fact that it was a lot of wood, which made me feel actually quite warm, and because it's quite natural it made me feel like I could switch off in some ways.
I think that the structure of the building inside and out here, with the roundedness of many of the features like the walls and that table, the staircase that winds up, there are just very few jagged, sharp edges in here. You could embrace it. I often think of it as a lot more compactly round so that I could go in.
When I come in, I feel free, I feel alert, I feel confident, and I feel my mind is clearer, and my thought processes are better. I feel sort of intellectually better because I just, there's something about the place that just makes me just, know myself and be confident about thinking about things and stuff. So it's just a wonderful space. It's kind of freedom, it really is.
In the end, architecture can't make us into fundamentally different people, but what it can do is to be a permanent reminder of who we are at heart and want to be. What are future generations going to make of us if the vast majority of the buildings we produce are silent about or even scared by the reality of our 21st century lives? And if our buildings don't help us to mediate between the inner domestic sphere and the world outside our front doors, how are we going to make sense of ourselves? With 1 million new homes being planned over the next 10 years in Britain alone, the challenge we're facing is an urgent one. If we get it right, we could all have the opportunity to live in houses that help us to feel that the modern world might be somewhere to feel at home in. The idea that the design of our buildings really matters to our state of mind is in fact rather an alarming one, given how badly built most of our world is. How seriously should we allow ourselves to take questions of beauty and ugliness? In the next programme, I'll be meeting people who argue that the colour of the walls can literally change what you believe in. And I'll also try to tell you what's beautiful and why.
Next tonight, here on More 4, blood and a few prayers needed for Mick Belker in Hill Street Blues.